To lube or not to lube? That is the question. RevelatorAlf. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. So this is another service video. Hope you're all well. I'm talking about lubricating bits and pieces on your bike. Do you need to do it, and what should you use? Okay, so the things you can lubricate on the bike is the clutch cable, of course, and you can do the levers, the clutch lever and the brake lever on the pinions there. Now, interesting, there's a bit of a difference of opinion here on the lubrication of the lever points, because they're saying, well, actually, they could attract dirt and grime in there, so it's best not to apply any kind of lubricant in there, any kind of lubricating spray. I'm not so sure. I think it's probably always good to have just a little bit in there, but that's entirely up to you, of course. Now, if you watch a previous video of mine when I talked about the gear lever selector and how it's seized up, so that's something that you want to routinely pack with grease or make sure that it's well lubricated as well. And also the gear linkage, make sure that's all regularly lubricated in whichever way you want to do it. Some people have commented and sent me emails about the gear lever seizing down here on the bike, and whether to actually just tap the housing and put a grease nipple in there. I'd say that's entirely up to you. I think it's just as easy to undo everything down there and just repack it with grease. As I say, it is an option to do that. You would have thought that if this is going to be a weak area on the bike, then maybe it should have been included in the design of the motorcycle as well. So that's another thing. You also want to get onto the other side of the bike and look at the steering lock housing. I know that I have to periodically, especially during the winter months, have to put some lubricating oil in there. Otherwise, when I apply the steering lock, the key doesn't really want to turn. It gets jammed in there. So that's something to look at. Yes, now steering head bearings, you want to make sure that obviously they're packed with grease and they're not worn out in any way. I'm going to cover that specifically on a future video as well. Suffice to say, I always thought that motorcycle design was a bit poor really when it comes to steering head bearings, when you could have had just a grease nipple put at the top of the bottom, let's say, and it would be easier just to pump grease in there. So I've never been quite sure why they've never done that on any motorcycle I know, but there we go. Okay, so you got your clutch cable, you got your brake lever and your clutch lever, you got all your gear linkage to do as well. You've got your foreclock and steering head bearings. You want to make sure that they're fully packed with grease as well. So is there anywhere else on the bike which you can lubricate as well? So what I do, I often give a little squirt of oil or lubricant on the footrests as well, on the hinges, on the front and rear set as well. On my bike, I've got the Sport Glide. I've got the panniers, the saddlebags. So I always lubricate the mechanism, the locking and unlocking mechanism of that as well. On the rear shock, what I like to do is just add a little bit of oil there as well, just to make sure that everything is still lubricated on the attachment points, and also on the adjuster screw as well, just to add a bit of lubricating oil or fluid just in there, just so it helps to not let it get seized up as well. Now, of course, you could also do the Jiffy Stand as well, the side stand, the kickstand as well. Just make sure that's given a really good clean, and also apply some lubricating fluid to it as well. Okay, so what kind of products should you be using? Well, let's talk about the steering head first of all. And I say I'll talk about this in a future video, but any kind of bearing grease will do. You don't have to get official Harley Davidson or what they recommend, just any good quality bearing grease. What about general lubrication? Well, just get a good aerosol lubricant, one with a bit of silicone or PTFE, especially for the clutch cable. That'll be fine. You don't ever want to use WD-40 as a lubricant, because it will clean, it will penetrate, but it doesn't lubricate, or it will soon dry out. So you want something that's going to last the test of time. Failing that, just use some clean oil, just to add a few drops here and there, and that will be perfectly fine. So really anything on your bike that is a moving part, let's say, it's a linkage or something that you're going to have to undo or adjust or anything like that, I would always add a bit of lubricating fluid or a bit of clean oil on there as well. So now, of course, it's entirely up to you where you apply it, what product you use, what brand you use. That's entirely up to you, of course. I'm not going to recommend one for you. I use this one here in the UK. It's a 3-in-1 WD-40. Give a lubricating fluid that shouldn't be confused with WD-40, their original product, which is a penetrating fluid. They do a whole range of products, WD-40, so get the lubricant if you're going to get it. As I say, but there's lots on the market. And just, well, fill your boots, really. Possibly a good idea to give the bike a really good clean before you start doing this as well. Right, I'll crack on with this. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell, like and share, and check out the website RevelatorAlf.com. And I'll catch you again. Ta-da!